Welcome to the Palava Hut. Stay tuned for episode 1. Welcome to episode 1. I'm Melissa.
I'm Richland.
And I'm Hawa.
And here's a little info about us. I'm Melissa. We live in Minnesota. I live in Coon Rapids. I'm a mother of 2. I know, 2. I'm in school and also a full-time worker.
Hi, and I'm Richland. I'm a minister in training. I also work for a bank. It's awesome. Teaching new people all the time. I'm kidding. I actually do love teaching. And then the other thing is I am just a people lover. If you ever get to know me, you'll be my best friend in about 30 seconds.
And this is Hawa, and I am also here in Minnesota. I am a master's student right now at the university. And also I have a lot of jobs, so we can talk about that maybe in other episodes. I have 4 jobs.
Whoa. She supports all of us.
So this is the Palava Hut, and we are really excited to be here. There's a little background about what this podcast is going to be about and why we're here. So this is how, just to, make that clear. So almost a year ago now, one of my friends talked about starting a podcast about African people. And I was like, I didn't really think too much of the idea, but then it just kind of stuck with me, and I just kind of felt like it was something I needed to do. And I really wanted to do it with my 2 best friends. So Melissa, Richland, and I have been friends since, 10 years. Yeah, so we've been friends since middle school, high school, and that's when we got to know each other and really, develop our friendship over the years. So we decided to do this podcast, and we said, why not do it together and, really bring up a lot of issues that we see in the community and other things. It doesn't have to be serious all the time, but that's kind of where the idea sparked from. I really love listening to podcasts also, so that was another factor in starting this podcast. And I brought the idea to Richland and Melissa, and they were really excited about doing it. And so here we are. We're really excited to just kind of, for you guys to get to know us, to ask questions. Definitely follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes. Like us on Facebook. You can email us, anything. Everything's on our Facebook page. And you can email us at thepalavahutpodcast@gmail.com with any questions, or if you want to collaborate or any concerns, whatever. So we're just going to dive right in, and Richland's going to tell you a little bit about what a Palava Hut is if you're not familiar with a Palava Hut.
Yeah, I think it's really important to kind of get an understanding of why we decided to name this thing the Palava Hut. Mm-hmm. I've never been exposed to a podcast, but when Howard brought the idea to me, I was like, yeah, sure, I would do anything. If Howard told me she wanted to tie shoestrings, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. But the Palava Hut it's a circular open structure. It's usually made out of clay, and it's covered with a thatched roof. So in many West African villages, Palava Huts are used as a gathering place to actually discuss various issues. And that's why we have you all here today. Okay? So let's just jump into our questions and,
what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, what we're going to be talking about today. So
yeah. So for episode 1, we decided to talk about identity. So we thought this was a good place to get started, to get to know more about us, and then also we can kind of have this conversation online with our listeners. So let's just dive right in and talk about identity. So all of us are Liberian. I don't know if we even mentioned that, but we're all Liberian, and we all immigrated to the United States at a very early age. So we've grown up here basically. I mean, for me, I can only speak for myself.
Okay, all right.
I don't really like that. Right. I don't really like that. I don't really know any other place besides Minnesota as my home. Although I consider myself to be Liberian. This is where I've grown up. And so we're just gonna have a little discussion about how we identify personally. So I'm gonna pose those questions to the ladies, and what do you guys think? How do you personally identify, especially with living in the United States? We have all these cultures. How do you identify yourself?
Well, I always, when people ask me, where are you from, I always answer with Liberia. Liberia is my homeland. It's the country. It's where the people that raised me. So for me, it's not even it's a no-brainer, And then I let people know, but I was raised here, because the other thing is, well, my goodness, your English is so great. You don't know how hard I worked. But yeah, so for me, I identify myself as just African, okay? And it's great that I can, like, I've assimilated into the American culture and everything like that, but at the heart of my being, who I am is African. You know, when it comes to respecting people, when it comes to, you know, just who I am, when it's just like small things I think about how my grandma raised me. You know, she raised me in the Word. She raised me with doing, you know, small things like me and my grandma used to play Ludo, you know. Then this all of a sudden this game came up called Sorry.
It was always there.
Right?
It was always there.
The reason why I say that is anytime me and my grandma were upset or we're dealing with anything, that would be the game that we'd play and just, you know, kind of talk about issues, and she'd always bring me back to some of the things that she dealt with in Africa. So, you know, yeah, I'm as much as I love it here in America, I'm Liberian. I'm Liberian to the fullest. And I can enjoy the American culture and I can assimilate, but at the core of my being, I know where my roots stem from. Okay, and so that's how I identify myself.
What about you, Melissa?
Wow. I would have to say I'm Blackanese. I'm just kidding. No, I also identify myself as Liberian. I came at a very young age, and really,
the smirks, the eyebrows raised.
Can you cut that out?
No, keep going.
No,
It's organic.
This is us all the time.
Yeah. No, like I said, I identify myself as Liberian. I grew up in a Liberian home. My mom identified herself as Liberian, so it was a no-brainer to, you know, when people ask me, where are you from? You know, I'm from Africa, but I'm from Liberia, you know. And like Richland said, I enjoy the American culture, but I also love coming home and, you know, being down to my roots, you know, so.
A little bit of palmetto rice in your bowl.
I guess for me, I identify as Liberian, but I also identify as Black because I feel like that's my race also, outside of my ethnicity, being Liberian. But I think for me, really understanding how Liberian I wasn't until I went back to Liberia, until I really identified with being Liberian. Up to that point, because I went back when I was right before our freshman year in high school. And that's when I really, like, connected to being Liberian. For me, there was a disconnect there until I actually went to Liberia. But up to now, when I'm in school, I introduce myself as, like, people go around and say where you're from. And sometimes I'm tempted to say Minnesota. But only because I don't want to explain, oh, I'm not an international student.
Right.
I was born there, but I came here. But you know what I mean? All that explanation.
Open up your biography.
And if you tend to... But so, I always introduce myself as Liberian, and I like to really strongly identify with that part. Also, my name is Hawa, so it's not like I'm going to hide it.
You can't.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that's not something I've ever really had to struggle with up after that point, after going to Liberia. I've always easily identified with being Liberian. So has that ever changed over your life? I know I talked about it a little bit, but, like, have you, like, was there a point where you were, like, not sure about your identity, or has that changed?
I think for me it was because at a young age, I grew up in New York. So where I grew up, it wasn't a lot of Liberians there. Of course, you hear New York is the melting pot. So it's not, you know, transitioning to coming to Minnesota and going to a school where there was a lot of Liberians, you know, amongst white people. But I think that's when I, you know, found more of, you know, a comfort, you know, getting to know my roots, and oh wow, there's a lot of people that, you know, are similar to me and eat the same food, and you know you can go to their house and, you know, their house is almost similar to yours. So it wasn't until I would say 7th to 8th grade when I moved out here to Minnesota is when I grew to know my culture. So
What about you, Ashley?
Well, for me, I would definitely say, you know, elementary school, you know, let's just say the elementary school I went to had a huge Liberian population, okay? It wasn't, I left home and I went home. That's what I can say, okay? I wasn't the only one with, like, palmetto stains on my homework. So, I'm sure you would. But I would definitely say in middle school, I definitely struggled with the idea for a bit, just because there were a lot more white people in my school, and I didn't hang out with a lot of Liberians at the time. Gosh, I didn't hang out with black people.
Still don't.
You know? Hey, you guys are around. But yeah, at that time, I really think I struggled with my identity, kind of trying to figure out who I was. Of course, you're in that stage, in that age.
Right.
And so it's expected. But I would definitely say at around 10th grade, when I became friends with you and, when I became...
closer friends.
Yeah. We were
only friends.
Yes.
I knew you from 6th grade.
Yeah, we knew each other from 6th grade, but really when it was 10th grade, like something changed, there was like a stake in the sand that created and solidified our friendship.
Right.
And I think during that time, like talking to you guys and actually being able to see, like, my goodness, my home and your home is so similar with the food that we eat, the conversation that we have. And so having, we were old school back in the day. Like, we would be on the house phone having 3-way conversations. We still are, even in this age.
In my 30s. I'm kidding.
And what that did for me is it really solidified that I wasn't the only person with this lifestyle. Being able to come home, eat the pan butter rice,
It made you feel comfortable.
then go to school and then be able to talk about similar things happening in our house.
Smell like a boogie.
Yeah,
peas at school and get to lay out.
Apples.
American by day, African by night. What'd you eat last night? Green beans and rice.
Kidney beans.
It was really kidney beans and like chicken neck.
Chicken neck. But for me it was a little bit different because so I had when I moved to Minnesota, I went to 3 elementary schools and they were both very Liberian. And then when I was in 5th grade, we moved to another neighborhood, and it was it was predominantly white. Mm-hmm. And so for 5th grade, I was in like this weird, going from like, literally they used to play Nafu during recess.
I've never played Nafu.
Really? Count your blessings. I'm kidding. It's a fun game. No, but that's where I went from, like in 4th grade, playing Nafu during recess.
Can you please explain what Nafu is, like, for the rest
of the audience? It's like a hand clapping game. Like, it's just like, it's kind of a, what can I connect it to? It's like a game that you play with your hands. Do you remember,
like, Misu? Like,
yeah, similar.
Okay.
It's similar, but you're using your legs.
You're using every part of your body.
You're using So that's the game. That's a Liberian game, and then we used to play that at recess, and then going to the other school in 5th grade, we're playing Foursquare. I never even knew what Foursquare was until I got to that school. I never knew. And so, or I should say I didn't know.
I never knew.
Oh my gosh. So I didn't know that, like there was just like, there was kind of a culture shock, even though I was in the United States. It was like, okay, I'm going from a school where there's a lot of Liberian students and we're playing that foot during recess, and then going to this predominantly white school where they're playing Foursquare and they're running the track, and I'm like, I don't.
You're confused.
And there weren't any other Liberian students in my class or even in my school that I knew of. Mm-hmm. And then so for you, although you go into our middle school, going to our middle school was like, you said, you didn't really hang out with Liberian people. For me, it was like a relief. I'm like, oh, finally. So there's
back in the game, huh?
I was back in the game. I was back on my, like, whatever. And so it was like going from 5th grade, no Liberians, and then going to 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade in middle school, all these Liberian students, and I was really, like, comfortable there. Yeah. And although I still I hung out with them and identified with them, but it wasn't until, again, like, I went to Africa that I really developed that identity, because it wasn't, for me, it kind of felt like, it didn't feel real, almost, in middle school. I don't know about you guys, but it was like, all these kids we hung out with, their parents were Liberian. Mm-hmm. None of us grew up in Liberia. Yeah. So we could only mimic what we saw our parents do. Yeah. Whereas when I went there, I was like, okay, this feels like more of a lived experience than just, not fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that was my experience.
Wish you guys could see this.
Although we so do you guys identify with Black American culture? Although, like, because being that we are Black, although we are African, there is like another culture that's kind of different from, quote unquote white American culture, the mainstream.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that I would identify myself with that, or
what? What was the face for?
No, I think I was just looking.
I was looking at the computer. But yeah, so go ahead.
I don't think I would say I identify myself with it, but in a way, it kind of just, I don't know, it like intersect, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, some of the things they do is similar to us. Like, if they having a barbecue, you know, it's like the whole family. It's like music. It's like food, you know.
It's like everybody coming late.
Right, you know, so. Black
and African people
like,
time is the same time.
I swear.
It's like packing it after the barbecue.
Right. So it's like, it kind of just goes together, you know. Some of the things they do is like we do it too. We just do it a different way. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you go to a Caucasian house and they're having a barbecue, their shish kebab might be different from ours.
Shish kebab.
It's the only thing she can think of.
I never connected shish kebab with meat sticks. Really? For like a long time.
Oh, I was down. I knew what shish kebab
was. I was like, what is this? And then somebody was like, it's a meat stick.
I never you know, because they would just have like one meat and like 5 vegetables.
One meat.
Well, so I was confused.
What is this technology?
So, you know,
she like stood it and put her own meat stick together. People looked at her.
People were like,
she got like 5 meat sticks. Took the meat off of each one. Go ahead, Melissa. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, I wouldn't say I identify myself with their culture, but in a way, it kind of just flows with, you know, being Liberian.
Mm-hmm. And you know, Liberian culture is very similar to American culture in a way, but
so everything just like it goes. Like, we're late. We love food.
This podcast was a drop on the 15th. It comes out on the 30th.
Our music is loud. Like, it's, you know, we love to have fun. We love to interact, especially with family members, dancing, you know, especially with the grandparents and all of that too. So it's like,
that's true. I agree.
I definitely would say I do identify with a lot of the Black culture. Just because when I think of myself as a Liberian, I think about the fact that, you know, Liberian people, you know, where do we come from? Where's our history? I mean, if you look at our flag, there's one star. It looks like the American flag.
It looks more like the Puerto Rican flag. I'm kidding. Like, they didn't take it from the American.
You know? But I would definitely say I do really identify with a lot of the Black culture because the people are just similar like us. You get similar names, similar behaviors. Sometimes I do look at
similar names.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of
my grandma's name is Betty Smith. Oh.
That's okay.
You know?
That's true.
But that's not really... That's from the masters. Like, it's not...
Well, where do you think... Well, what I'm saying is for the Liberian culture, a lot of times I can identify more so with Black people than anything. Mm-hmm. Similar with our food. If you look at our food and the ingredients that we cook with, you know, it's very like gumbo. I'm like, is this pepper soup?
You have to have
seasonings. Like, you know, you know, yeah, we have different style of greens, but a lot of things are still the same as us. So sometimes when I go to when I meet a lot of Black people, it's so funny because we share a lot of similarities. Maybe we may say a lot of things in Liberian English, and we may have our, you know, own home lives that we deal with, but I did actually have a Black friend, and when I went over to her house, there was no difference really. Mm-hmm. You know, we're having the same kind of conversations. It just wasn't like
Liberian English involved.
Liberian English was involved. So for me, I really do identify with the culture and the people. And at the end of the day, I think I strongly identify with Black people.
So would you both of you consider yourselves Black American?
I wouldn't say I'm Black American. I would say I'm Liberian American.
That's Black.
With a little bit of cream.
No, because the reason I asked that question is for people who don't know, who are listening in, Black American in the Liberian context has negative connotations. Mm-hmm. So when you're, especially growing up, if your parents want to like, when they're yelling at you, you want to be like, oh, Black American people, like, it's negative. It's not positive. So it's never... Nobody's like, oh, just be a little Black American. Like, it's always given a negative tone with negative connotation. So I only ask that because Richard's saying she identifies with some parts of Black culture. So do you consider yourself to be Black American, or does that does all that negativity that's kind of ingrained in us about Black Americans and Black American culture, does that impact would you call yourself Black American? I should say.
Well, I guess.
Thank God.
Well, if somebody, that's a really great question that you posed, And I definitely would say, like I said, I consider myself Liberian, raised here in America, like raised here in the United States. For people who look at me, they don't see the difference. You know, I'm not wearing the Liberian flag on my chest, so nobody can really tell the difference whether I am.
It's got like a tattoo on your face.
The tattoo on my neck, so you know it's real.
It's like around your neck.
And so,
Pull 'em.
you know, I would definitely say this, right? I identify myself as Liberian. I definitely relate with the African American culture, but you know, I can definitely say I'm a Liberian girl that's, you know, been raised here in America. So a lot of the same things that like African Americans deal with, I deal with too. So there's no separation between us, and I don't feel like there is. I think the only thing with being Liberian is I have my roots. I know where I'm from. I feel proud, you know. Yeah, and I feel like Black people have the same thing, but it's just that I have a different knowing. I know
freed Blacks immigrated or migrated to Liberia and started off as like a colony, but then it became a country. And so that piece of our history, although that's not every Liberian's history, not every Liberian are descendants of those people, but that's how our country was founded. So for me, Black culture has always been something that I was interested in. And something that I've identified with, especially getting older and understanding some of the things that all Black people experience in America, like Richard was saying. So I can identify with Black American culture, but it's almost difficult. I have to be honest, like it's difficult for me to call myself a Black American because of the negative things that are said about Black Americans in our own culture. And it's like Richard said, like I know where I'm from. So it's like, I'm Black in America, yes, but am I African American? Am I Black American? If I'm filling out a survey, yes, I'm Black American. But like,
if you're going for a job,
if I'm going for a job, I'm African American, Black American. But you know, to introduce myself, I wouldn't say. I guess it would just kind of be hard for me to say that because I do know where I'm from.
But you know how one thing that you actually use the phrase Black American, and that's actually something that like Liberians use. Liberians use like Black, like people who are Black, they don't consider themselves to be Black Americans. So that's just
not all of them.
They say African American.
Even the phrasing that we use
to
talk about Black people, it's like within our culture.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I know some people who are Black American who call themselves Black Americans. Well, they're
any. But I'm saying like as a whole Liberian thing, you go
all Liberians call African Americans Black Americans. Yeah, no matter what. Well, sometimes I'll hear African American here and there. But
so yeah, for me that already creates a divide right there. I'm African, I'm Liberian, and then you got a Black American people.
Yeah, it's like a whole different. It's a whole different set of people, culture, everything and that's separate from like. There's a divide there.
Yeah, and I think there is a different culture. There is a different history for people who did go back, and people, you know, now we're here in America right now, but for the people who did stay, their history is completely different.
I totally agree.
Going back to what Hala said about, you know, us growing up and our parents, you know, they would use the phrase or would say, oh, you won't be like the Black Americans. It's kind of like, you know, as we calling them Africans, you know, they some of them get offended by that because they're not Africans. They were born here, you know, so why are you calling them Africans? So it kind of like, it goes, it goes, you know, either way because it's like they don't call themselves Africans. Like they don't just use, you know, they're African and, you know, and we don't just say, oh, we're Black Americans too. So it's like, I don't know.
I feel like the people who are more educated do tend to call themselves Africans, you know, and I notice anytime, you know, I go anywhere and I meet anybody that's more educated, we're all from the same place, and I'm like, yeah, I love it, you know, that's awesome. But it seems to be like the more educated you are, well, even if it's not going and that you're in an institution, right? But it's people who are aware of their history, they're more apt to saying, yeah, we are African, yes. And
maybe they weren't born there. Yeah. Maybe they don't have like the direct link or the roots, but they know that's where Black people come from. But you know the thing with Melissa, not to cut you off, Melissa, I know you're about to say something, but like
about to jump on there.
Being in like middle high school, like people are ignorant in those. Yeah. Sorry, people are so ignorant at that. Like even us, like people were so ignorant at that age, and I don't even mean that in a mean way. Like you just don't know, you know. So it's like. It's really hard to kind of identify with something that seems foreign when you're at that age because it's not really something that you're ready to deal with.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say, and she took it from me, so it's okay. But like you said, you know, you meet more educated people, but growing up,
you know, that definitely
wasn't the conversation. It really wasn't because once we tell them, oh, you're African too, they're like, whoa,
Yeah.
no, I'm not. You know,
But
I was born here and this and that. But
you know, that actually has to take me back home because when my grandma was, my grandma would tell me these stories, and she would tell me about, you know, people. One man who was, you know, black, and he was in Africa. And you know where we used to stay? I used to live with my uncle, and we used to go to the well to go draw water. Okay, y'all can laugh, but if you guys have but yeah, we used to me and my uncle used to go to the well and draw water, and like you'd have to be careful because the ants would eat up your feet and whatever. But my grandma was telling me that when she was in Africa, there used to be one black man who was there, and he was always like, this is her description. First, he would cussing. You know, cause nobody wanted to be around him. Like nobody apparently, she said, wanted to be around him because he was rude and he was cursing. And I think a lot of times black people get misrepresented in the even in Africa. You know, there's not even a place for them to even be seen as great, even in our home country.
Well, that's not to cut you off. That's such a like big conversation because like I don't want to say the media and sound like a
no,
but like Africans are misrepresented in the media, and so are black. You know, Africans from Africa who were born in Africa, whatever, however you want to define that, and then Black Americans are also misrepresented. So when we meet, it's like I have these conceptions about you, you have these misconceptions about me. Unless we're willing to like know about each other and like get to know each other, that's gonna be there. You know, so it's like I don't even blame people for who say, "Oh, I'm not African," "Oh, don't call me African," because I feel like, you know, why would you if you watch TV with Africans on it, they're never represented in a good way. Like, like they're always on the TV. But like they always show people in really poor conditions, begging, or if it's a war, like it's never anything positive. So why would you want to be from somewhere like that?
Literally all through elementary and high school, it was like they show the bad side of Africa, and then they would have it as we walk around naked, we live in huts, we play with like
my best friend is my giraffe,
right? Like we sleep in trees, like that was always what they showed. So and then they would these kids, not to say they're dumb or whatever, but you can't also blame it because they're like, oh, you really live in a hut, you sleep with monkeys and whatnot. Like,
you have to think about the home that they're growing up in. I mean, people who choose not to be educated, not to find information out for themselves, that's how they teach your children. So children are just replicating what they have, what the parents do in the home. If the parents are ignorant, so the kids are also going to be as well. How many times do we go around and people ask you, what do they say? I know a lot of people ask me, well, how was it in Africa? Was there, it's hot, huh? There was a lot of sand. Like, they almost created the picture for me. I'm like, really? What? I have to think, like, oh my, was it like that?
No, I know.
But a lot of people would, ask, like, did you have a pet lion? I'm like,
oh, really?
I had, like, ridiculous questions asked to me.
Whenever I talk to people from Liberia, and they have, like, kind of even, like, an inkling of what, like, Liberian history. Oh, how was the war? Was it?
Oh, my gosh, yes.
How did you survive that?
It was tough.
And I'm like,
very tough.
I mean, I was there during the war, but I have no recollection.
Let me give you my mom's cell phone. Give you my mom.
Or like, here's a Google link that you can like ask Google.
Here's a YouTube video.
Yeah, here's a YouTube video. America's Stepchild.
Oh my goodness.
You know that?
I know that.
Oh my gosh, so scary. I still can't watch that to this day. But like, that's what I would get sometimes. So.
Yeah. And I think it is, Melissa, you bring up such a good point with those videos they used to play all the time with Feed My Starving Children, and there's nothing. We're not saying anything. We're not saying there's anything bad about it. There are people in Africa who do need support and help and all these different things, but that's not everybody. Some people come from well-off homes, but you can't put everybody in that box. And so that's what we're saying is Liberians, that's something that people consistently ask us all around. If you bring 10, 15, 20 other Liberian people, our experience will be the same. Or even
any African people.
To
just have that, because it's not that, like Rishna said, there are a lot of problems in Africa. I think we could talk about it for episodes upon episodes, but it's like, that's the only narrative that's being shown to people. So how can we expect people to have any other view of us,
Yeah.
And it's like, because we don't control the media, we can't control the message.
Exactly. And
but there's, with the internet, not to cut you off, sorry. With the internet, there's a lot of positive things. Whereas before, when we were in middle and high school, there weren't any positive. And you see a lot of other Africans, especially Nigerians, in like media, in movies, in music. So it's nice to see,
you know, people wearing daishikis and, you know, just. Melissa, what do you have to say?
Do you hate daishikis, Melissa?
No, I don't hate it.
It's just
it's like
Melissa hates
being
daishikis.
African is like a trend now to me. You know, like, well, not to me, but like in the media, it's like
enjoy it for the next 6 months, sister.
Right? Like, it's like back then. I don't think a lot of us, you know, like you couldn't wear your natural hair to school. You'd be made fun of. Like you couldn't wear African clothes to school. You would be made fun of. It's because. Let me not get started. But,
this is
you know, so now seeing that, like, people are wearing daishiki, like, you know, they're selling it in their stores, and it's like, it's not even the original, and it's like, oh, now you want to wear bandeau knots, you know? It's like, now you want to, you know...
When you, like, when we had to wear it to school,
right.
And then you go home crying.
Right, you're like, why did you do this, Mom? Like,
I remember this girl in second grade, she used to, like, thread her hair. Oh my god! To go to school.
And for those of you who don't know what threading is,
look it up. No, but like I remember, like I was part of the group who laughed at that girl. Like I'm like, what is this?
But then you go home and go tie your hair. And
this is what you do at home. You don't bring this to school. But like Melissa was saying, it's true. Like certain things. Not saying like people shouldn't thread their hair or like wear bantu knots or wear dashikis, but it's like
wait. First of all, they call it bantu knots, but we call it
bantu. Bantu. I don't know what they call it.
Life of a Liberian.
It's not even called. It's called chicken pupu.
Edit that right now. Right.
That was episode 1.
No, that's the thing.
I know that's but I never say it.
You know, and that actually just brings us full circle around to what the difference is between, you know, Liberian culture and Black culture. There's things that we're going to experience, and that experience is what creates us.
Yeah,
you know. So that's what I mean by I identify myself mostly as a Liberian woman.
Yeah, that's great. I think so. As we like get older, you know, how are you holding on to your identity, and how do you see yourself holding on to your identity as a Liberian woman going forward, going forward? Or, you know, how have you done it up to this point?
You know what's so funny is when I used to grow up, my mom used to say these phrases. And it's so funny because as a kid I'm like, why does she keep telling me this? You think you're American? Like, so these little things I'm like,
I have to agree with you on
know, and so even to this day that plays in my head. So I'm always really conscious of what I say, how I come off. You know, is this because that's the respect that she put in me, to respect my elders, to respect you know, just the people around me, and to always just be, you know, you grow up in a Liberian home, African home in general. You know, kids are meant to be seen,
but not heard.
And a lot of people can take that negatively. But when you are looking and you're not necessarily speaking, you can take a lot more in than when you're speaking all the time. And I noticed that even as an adult, that shows up for me. You know. And so it's basically in who my mom was raising me as. I started to see myself like, okay, I noticed my Liberian culture, and it's not even to say, you know, I gotta be like having the fufu and soup I gotta be eating fufu and soup and all this extra stuff, but it's who my family created me to be. You know, my mom came here to make a better life for me. I don't take that for granted. I may not be in school right now, but I notice when I go to work and I work hard and I, you know, try to make a difference in everybody's life, I know that I'm doing those things because my family wanted me to have more, you know? So if you're listening, that for me is what it means to be.
To be what?
That for me is that's how I keep on, and that's how I hold on to my identity.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, especially the part where you said that, you know, the phrases that your mom used, one that my mom used, and, you know, I being a mom now, I think it's embedded in me. It's child who can yak and feed.
Oh my
you know, like you know,
Is
being
that how you hold on to your life?
That was my mom right there, dude.
you know.
Oh
and
my gosh, did I
especially
feel.
when I get in trouble. So it's like now that I'm a mom of 2 and I have a daughter who's 4, I see myself saying that to her, even though she's 4. But it's like you said, it starts from a young age, and you know, like you said, kids are meant to be seen but not heard. You know, I do the same with Chrissy. If adults are talking, you shouldn't be, you know, listening. You shouldn't be, you know, putting your input into it. You know, as she grows up, I hope that she takes that with her too. And you know, how I take or what was the question?
Like, I don't remember. No, how you hold on to your librarian identity?
Yeah, food.
Oh yeah, we can be at Melissa House. So
like my mom
Mama McBurney
loves to cook, so it's like, and you know, even if she comes up with creative ideas or ways of cooking, you know, American food, she still, you know,
makes it librarian.
Yeah, she still makes it like
She still
it
has, like,
could
a
be
bottle of
stir
pepper
fry,
the pepper sauce on the
right?
side.
It would be like bread
Like
stir fry. So it's like I can't really shy away from that.
Once the mom asks, "Is that pepper sauce hot?"
It's like big chicken breast, stir
Mixed
fry,
vegetables
with a little bit of fried salmon.
yes,
pepper sauce.
like I can't shy away from that. Like my mom.
People come and they smell you before they see you.
Yes, like literally. Oh, Melissa, your mom cooked, huh? How you know? We smell you, you know. So it's like that's way I hold on to it, and I don't want to say the language, but you know the way we speak, you know.
Yeah, that's
it's
a huge
like,
one.
It's big, especially if we go out there. Of course, we're gonna want to sound professional, but when you're home, it's like, you know.
Are you saying librarian English is not professional?
It's not. It's not at all.
Just did. Melissa is against our languages. Okay.
It's not. So, and my daughter, she has the accent. For someone who was born here, you can hear clearly. Like, you know, that's one way I, hold on to it. You know, I don't know when she'll be able to go to Liberia to actually see. And I haven't been there too since I came. Yeah. So. It's something that I want her to take along with her to know, like, where she's, although mommy has never been there so far, or not yet, like, I just want her to, get to know who she is,
Mm-hmm.
So that's ways that I, try to hold on to it.
I guess for me, definitely food, definitely speaking Liberian English, I think. I mean, I only really speak it with my friends and sometimes with my family, but, like, outside of that, I don't really speak Liberian English much.
As you can hear, I don't speak a lot of
Liberian
English
much.
Serious.
No, I mean, I don't think speaking Liberian English necessarily makes you Liberian, of course. No. Honestly, because there's some people who mimic Liberian English. Well, that's a different conversation.
Let's calm down. Somebody get her bag of ice and put it on her. Because she's fuming.
So, obviously, like, other people can speak Liberian English and mimic the language, so, or, the dialect.
Try to. Let's use the word try.
So, I don't think that alone makes you Liberian, but, a combination of all those things, like, the way we were raised, along with, like, the things that were instilled in us.
Anybody else clean up on Saturday mornings?
Oh, gosh. We should have a whole, like, episode about, like, things Liberians do.
Yeah.
Soon in the morning Saturday.
Blast to either gospel music or African music.
I used to be so, I don't know if my mom's going to listen to this podcast. I used to be so happy when she worked in the morning.
Oh, my God.
Saturday morning.
Even if she worked, like, I had to.
Yeah, because when she go home by 10.
Right, you still, like, even if your mom's at work, she will call you up yet? Okay, the bathroom needs to be clean, the curtains needs to be changed, my bed needs to be made.
Oh my God.
You didn't season that chicken.
Right.
Oh my.
All those things, like.
So, like, all those, like, a combination of all those things, Liberian food, Liberian English, Liberian people, my family, all those things I think really helped me hold on to my, identity, and also just kind of being involved in the community. I think I can make more of an effort, but I do make an effort about, like, being involved as much as I can. I have a lot of things on my plate, but still trying to be a part of the community and doing things that benefit the community. I don't really think I go to a lot of, like, Liberian events, like, parties and stuff, but, like...
Leave that to us.
I don't think you go to any at all.
I don't go to any.
I go to one, once in a while I go to some. once in a while.
But I mean, I live like where librarians live, so it's not
Right,
like it's hard for me to like. I can go to the African store and see librarian people. I can go anywhere in Brooklyn Park and see
You'll see
librarian
it.
people. So it's like, I think if I wasn't around them, it might be different because I don't have to try to be who I am or be around my people. I can just walk out my door and like somebody's like rolling Ludo dice. I'm kidding, but like.
Oh my gosh. I was just going to say real quick, and did anybody's parents go to the African market, to the farmer's market, and get greens?
Oh,
and
God.
like pick
Speaking of
flour
that, my
sauce
mom
and
went last
Oh my
week, and we had
God.
to pick the flour sauce off the
I'm just
stem.
hoping my parents
Oh.
forget until summer ends.
I don't think
My mom
so.
used to buy like a bunch of bags. I used to be like, me and my mom, my grandma, and my
Your
older
hands will
sister.
turn green.
Yeah, like your
I would
snails
wonder
And
will
then
turn
if you-
black.
if you did Kintilin, then you put your fingers
Oh,
in your eyes and the bitterness.
Not even your eyes, like you start
Yeah,
itching,
it
like
starts to itch
all
your
over
finger.
your.
Starts-
Oh
oh
my
my
gosh!
So
Jinx, show me soda.
17. So
I think I will never cut Kintilin in my life. Like I'm never gonna go and buy a bundle of.
Now I use gloves.
Okay, Melissa, you've cracked the code. No, I mean like I don't need that much Kintilin. Like if I could just buy like a small bag.
Right? They would take it for like
And then put it in the freezer.
and
like
they keep it there for the whole
seriously,
year.
it's like a PSA. Like that's probably not healthy.
like African people. They don't know how to do things at a portion. Like
we need 6 bundles.
especially. I hope my mom doesn't listen to me.
Your mom's
my
upset.
mom.
Your mom already asked me how to download it.
Like my mom do not know when to stop. She don't know her limit. Like. Oh my gosh, she would buy like 8 bags of flour sauce. I'm like, Mom, what are we doing with all that?
I
bags?"
love Melissa's mom,
But then again, it's like she cooks a lot, so
and we're always here eating.
You're always here.
Okay, well.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I think all those things combined really help to,
Yeah.
and growing up too, you tend to like have appreciation for the way you were raised, or like knowing who you where you come from, and it's
Yeah.
like the culture
That's really nice.
you came up with, it's good because back then we didn't appreciate it. You like it'd be like, I smell African food. Oh, okay, and
Yeah.
it's like little things like that. And now it's like, oh,
You know your
I used
tribe.
to be
Right.
so embarrassed when I had palmetto stains on my multiplication homework.
I don't think you're alone.
Oh, it was so embarrassing. And then, like, I wouldn't feel embarrassed if, like, another librarian kid was grading it because we still have to switch. But if I got paired with a white kid, like, I'm, like, sweating bullets. Oh, God. What's that, Hawa? The quinoa? It's the quinoa? Like, they're just like, no, it's not. Actually, quinoa has no oil, so I don't...
Oh my gosh, I can't do it.
I'm trying to survive.
No, but that was. But I totally agree. All those things combined really made me who I am.
It made you
and
appreciate
it was yeah, I appreciate it. It was important.
Well, I'm just gonna top it real quick, and I'll be done. I'll drop the mic. I think Liberian people are the funniest people in the world.
Oh yeah,
I think
Hands down.
that's what creates our culture. That's how I keep a culture alive. Jokes, like things. I
Laughing.
don't let things get to me because there's always a humor in something.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, everything. Liberian people can find the humor in it, and I think for me that's what attracted me to you two ladies. It was just we never
We made fun of you.
It would be the worst times of my life. And you guys just had humor, and it was just like my family. I'm like, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
I
Liberian
could
people
never.
are really funny.
Yeah, just very, very.
It's like we had to
so.
grow up at 3 years old.
And sometimes I don't even think they're trying to be funny.
They just are.
It happens naturally.
So I guess our last question, so we can wrap up this segment of the show. What advice would you give to your younger self, or to someone who's struggling to connect to their African roots or Liberian roots?
If I had to give an advice to my younger self, I don't think I would give any advice because I love how I grew up, because now I have now I appreciate it more, the lessons that my mom taught me, the ways that she did things. I appreciate it more, especially being a mom now. So it's like, you look back, I'm glad that I made the mistakes that I made, because then it's like, I mean, not the beating and the threats. I didn't get any beatings, but
I just cut those out.
Well, it's like
It's not that kind of show.
but no, I
You need to cut it.
I'm
Your mom
so
was like,
jealous.
you need to be there.
So dumb, you guys.
Somewhere around the world, there's some African woman sharpening like a
what?
Whoa, we're sharpening.
okay, sharpening a little twig.
Why do you need to sharpen it?
What was it?
Yeah,
Sorry, Melissa.
I totally lost my thoughts.
Episode
You were saying like your experiences were all important.
What was the question? What
advice would you give yourself or someone who's struggling? Oh my goodness, sorry.
To give, what would I was saying to someone who's struggling? Hang in there, you know.
That's a great advice. Just hang in there and pray and just pray and pray. Like,
it gets better.
That's what you used to tell me. No, just pray, Richly. Open up, Bible, and pray. Just pray, Richly. I'm like, okay, I got it.
Honestly, I would tell them to hang in there. You know, like you all have to go through the stage. You're not gonna skip a stage. You're gonna go through it. You know, especially being young. You know, you're gonna experience a lot of stuff with your parents. Just hang in there. It gets better.
just hang in there.
Who's next?
Melissa, I hope I don't get advice from you.
Just hang in there. You're fine. Melissa, I can't breathe. Just hang in there. I know you have asthma. Throw this inhaler away. Just hang in there.
Oh my gosh, my cheeks hurt.
What about you, Richland? We all say the same thing.
I know. Hang in there, man. I would definitely say, you know, this is all a learning experience. You know, don't make yourself wrong for feeling embarrassed. Don't make yourself wrong for, you know, being upset at where you are. Don't make yourself wrong for anything that can appear negative. There's so much great that comes with being Liberian that sometimes when the negatives happen, just African in general, and when negative things happen, you know, sometimes we don't know how to handle them, but it's okay. It's also a part of the learning curve. It's also a part of learning to accept yourself, you know. Until you can go through those bad times, you can't really appreciate the good times always, you know. Mm-hmm. So, am I yelling at you to go clean up your room?
Go clean it.
You know, or when your parents are really giving you advice on, like, the importance of education and all these different things, and you feel like, well, they don't understand me and what I want to do, or they're telling you to, you know, things that you don't really feel like you need to hear. All of that is part of your experience. So, I would definitely say, as Melissa said, right, just hang in there, but also know that this is all a part of the experience and don't fight it.
We changed the title to Hang in There. It's the name of the show.
The Palava, hanging in there.
The advice I would give, I think if you're wanting to connect to your African roots, and you're not connected right now, that only means that you're on the right path. I think we live in a really cool time right now where you can connect with people all over the world. So if you don't have somebody in your school, in your community, that's African that can help you kind of feel connected, or, you know, find somebody online. I mean, that sounds really creepy. Find someone online. No, like, find somebody safe online. Find communities, people who are interested in similar things like you, who have similar backgrounds like you, that you're able to connect with if that's not in your community. So, like, I think there's so many cool YouTubers. There's so many cool, like, African shows online. Like, there's a lot of things online right now that can help you maybe feel connected, and also, like buy a book. Like, when I came back from Liberia when I was in 9th grade, and I was super interested in Liberian culture. Like, it was ridiculous, and that's when I learned a lot about Liberian history in that time, because I started, like, getting books from the library and ordering books that talked about Liberian history. You know, I read a lot of Liberian authors. So it was like during that time, I took charge of that, even though I could also talk to my parents because they have stories for days, but just learning on my own, reading books and kind of getting to know people, that really helped me to understand Liberian history, understand how I got here by talking to my parents, you know, like what their lived experience was and what brought them to this country, and really kind of try to learn the history, because that kind of helped me connect. So I think that's the advice I would give. So, you know, find people who are like you online if you can, in a safe way, and then...
Or reach out to us.
Yeah, like, ask us questions. I mean, you can always email us email us at the Palava Hut podcast at gmail.com. But
honestly, you know,
yeah, I'm not even like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm serious.
If we have any resources, we'll definitely like send them out to you, because a lot of times you're like, where do I start? Where do I go? And you may feel like, okay, I don't know what to even do first. But start by reaching out to us. You know, you always have. Yeah, I'm Richland.
I'm Melissa.
And I'm Hawa.
And we're here for you.
So yeah, definitely reach out. That'd be really awesome. Even if you're not like struggling with your African roots, like reach out. So that wraps up our first segment. So now we're going to transition into our second segment, which is our listener letters. And Richland's going to read the letter and let us know what the letter says. This is our very first letter.
Yeah, this is
ever.
So please send more questions, please.
Please.
They don't. And also, I do want to make, before you get started, when you hit the send an email link on Facebook, it asks for your name and your number. You do not have to fill that out, because I really don't want to know your number or your name. You can keep this completely anonymous. We're not going to reveal who you are on the air. And if you don't want to add it in, that's completely fine. Just ask your question. And if you want to ask it, I know on Facebook, it might, or even through your email, it might be weird. You can ask anonymously on Tumblr. So you can go to our page at thepalavahut.tumblr.com to ask anonymously. So
yeah.
So what's our question?
Our very first question. It's a little deep. So here we
Clear
go.
my throat.
What inspires you?
That's nice. That's good.
Yeah, that was our very first question, which I find so cute.
Oh, that's nice. Who wants to start?
I would have to say my kids. Having children at a young age, especially my daughter, I had her right out of high school. So that was a big change in my world, in my life. So I would say my children, just striving to be the best I can be, to make them proud, to make myself proud. And also my mom, growing up, her being a single parent and, raising me the best way that she knew how. And I think she did an amazing job. She, just watching her work so hard for her children, I think that made me, want to be a better person too. She's very... Can we cut that out? Like,
no,
I'm stuck.
That's good.
No. I just lost my train of thoughts.
We'll come back to you then.
Okay.
You, Hawa?
Okay, I'll go. I think, similar to Melissa, both my parents really inspired me in their own, like, separate ways. A lot of things inspire me, but I'll just focus on my parents only because I think, like we talked about earlier, all the things that they instilled in me has made me who I am today, and kind of seeing them strive. I mean, I just can't even really, my mom, no, I know she wasn't that, I was going to say she was the same age as me when she came to America, but she wasn't. But they weren't that much older than me. So, like, I just try to understand, like, coming to a new country. The great thing I'm really grateful for is that in Liberia we speak English, because I can't even imagine entering this country and not knowing the language. So people who have to come here to a new country, assimilate, and all those things, and then learn a new language, like, shout out to you, because that's amazing. So, like, not to take away from my parents', like, struggles, but because, the new English, so it was easier to navigate the system, but it was still really hard. And, both my parents going through all the trials and tribulations, all the things, I never ever felt like I wanted anything.
You never knew?
Never knew. Like, I never felt in need of anything growing up. And that's only because they work so hard, so that's really inspiring and I hope to be as hardworking as both my parents, because I don't really feel like I am. My parents are really hardworking.
No, they are. And you're not. I'm kidding.
So I really inspired to be, like, as hardworking as they are. And also what inspires me outside of my parents is just kind of, I think, helping other people.
Yeah, she definitely.
I really like...
This is Mother Teresa.
I really like helping other people reach their potential, and just... I don't really do that too much now, like, kind of in my jobs, but not so much. And I think as I get older and as I, like, start my career, I really want that to be a part of my daily life. So whatever job I take or whatever path I take, I really want to be empowering other people. So that really inspires me to empower others.
Oh, that's good, Howard. That's good stuff. Mostly you came back to your train, get your train of thought back?
Yeah. So, as I was saying, my mom, she's a very hard worker. Also, like, you know, how a parent, like, parents, and, you know, her being a single parent and raising 3 kids on her own. And, you know, it was a lot. And, you know, I'm not saying I was the, you know, the troubled child, but
Melissa, leave it for next week. Okay.
Melissa's mom jumps in.
no, you know, it's just to see
Y'all do not know about this.
to see her work so hard to, you know, give us all that we wanted. Like Hawa said, you know, she was never in need of anything. And I have to say the same way, too. Like, growing up, like, I never was the type to be, you know, jealous of what my friends had, or, you know, I wanted what they had. It's like my mom always, you know, she always, you know, bought me things, or, you know, made me feel like, you know, I was, you know, special to her, you know. She always made sure that I was okay, I was good. So, like, and that's come from her working so hard, and I just want, you know, to show that to my kids. Like, you know, you work for what you want. You work hard, and you will receive what you want as, you know, working for it. So, I have to say my mom and my kids, you know.
Absolutely. Well, I would definitely say what inspires me is God. You know, through everything that happened in our life and our families, like, some of us aren't even supposed to be here, but just by the grace of God, like, He really covered us and made sure that we were safe and taken care of to even enter in, you know, the United States. And I'm gonna say also too, my mom and my grandma, you know, my grandma actually, she's the one who used to, like, continuously read the Bible to me all the time. And anytime I needed advice, she never gave me advice from her opinion, but she gave me advice from, you know, the Bible, which was really great, because a lot of the conversations, you know, that I had with her really created who I am today as an adult. So without her helping me to find my faith and, you know, be a better Christian, I don't know who I'd be and where I'd be. And the other thing is, my mom was always a go-getter. My mom looked hot. My mom was cruising. You know, she came here and she just made things happen. You know, she helped bring family members here. They stayed at her house. You know, my mom's a nurse, so she'd work overnights. I remember my mom sleeping a lot, coming home from work exhausted, and, you know, seeing my mom get her house, seeing my mom get her cars. You know, this was even before my stepdad came in the picture. Really made me realize, like, man, if, like Melissa was saying and Howard was saying, if you work hard, you can go get it. And so I really realized as I'm growing up, like, a lot of my work ethic stems from my mom. So yeah, I would definitely say those are my role models. And that's what inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing and be the person I am. It's because of people like that. And of course, an amazing God.
Why are you talking like it's BT Uncut?
Can you be quiet for once?
On radio stations when they have when it gets late night and
that's what
like really sexy
R&B
music.
Because I was
Welcome
putting
back to
because I put a lot of
smooth jazz.
No, I mean I was putting a lot of thought into it. I'm trying not to cry. So when
I know, I was trying to.
easily cry. Okay,
we know that.
I was like, we were talking about the Palava Hut, and I'm like, oh, this is so amazing.
I'm like, it's just an idea.
I know, I was excited too.
So that's why.
Yeah, but I think that was a great episode one. Tell us what you think. Definitely reach out to us on all our social media platforms. Like I said, you can email us at the Palava Hut podcast @gmail.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Tumblr, find us on SoundCloud. You can download the SoundCloud app and find us, the Palava Hut podcast. We're going to be on iTunes, hopefully by the first episode. And yeah, I didn't forget about that.
Give us feedback too.
Yeah, give us feedback. Definitely on Facebook. I think for us, feedback is really important to improve the show. So if there's anything constructive you have to say, don't be
too harsh. This is our first episode.
This is gonna be a little rough.
You know, don't be
Y'all know what Chasta did? It's like the first thing we get back.
I didn't yet anything about to kill people. Like, okay, we'll get there.
Right?
That's what I was so good.
Can't take you, honestly.
No, but relevant, constructive comments would be really helpful to help us improve.
Too.
Yeah, to help us improve our show and help us give you a better product. And we really hope that you enjoyed the first episode. So, during our weekly episodes, we're going to wrap up each episode with a call to action. So we don't want this podcast to just be like, oh, let me listen and then let me just go to sleep. Like, we want you to grow with us, learn with us, have a conversation with us. So Richard's going to tell you our call to action.
Yeah, definitely. So for all of you listening, we want you to get a notebook, go to the store, or find a notebook in your house that's been unused, and start, like, uncovering the layers of yourself. Who am I? You know, where am I from? What makes me me? What makes me unique? Start, like, write down those questions, and then actually start exploring yourself, writing down things. It doesn't have to be a long paragraph, but then you can actually start exploring who you are, kind of like, you know, what makes you unique. And then you can also explore different parts of your culture. And you can also share those questions as well with, like, other people in your family.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right, cool. Thank you. And that was episode 1. Bye.